So now too much talk. Now some questions.
Those who have questions, please come forward. We have mic here. Please come here. Yeah, just stand there. Yeah.
Yes.
His Holiness, my name is Declan. I'm an actor in Hollywood.
Oh.
And I've waited 28 years to come and meet you. And right now, more than ever in Hollywood, there's a fear in the industry because of China's power. Because of the power in China. And I wanted you to know that as an actor, I am vocal for Tibet. And I am vocal for you. And my question is, at some point, would I be able to have a picture with Your Holiness?
No problem. No problem. Yes. I think if everybody, you see, come to want a picture with me, then I think time not sufficient. But the first person, okay, come.
Just wait there. Wait there.
Yes.
Yeah. One by one. Yeah.
Simple question now.
Should be good.
Yes.
Tashirele, Dalai Lama.
Please,
Om Mani Padme.
Please ask your question.
Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme.
Okay.
Om Mani Padme.
Okay. No question.
I wrote it down last night, Your Holiness.
Use your mic, please.
I speak now on behalf of Your Holiness' return to Potala Palace, where Your Holiness belongs. 60 years is a long time, a very long time, to do good or cause harm to an entire global family. We have seen Your Holiness non-stop going all around, all over the world for 60 years, exemplifying most highest human values and wisdom and so much more. Yet, sadly, our world leaders don't seem to get it, giving their power to China's ruthless government year after year for 60 long years, pathetically turning into China's puppets. For many of us, citizens of the world, this is an unbearable tragedy. Having no more time or patience to endure the corruption, destruction, and cruelty all around. Driven by ignorance, fear, greed, and anger, a large number of world leaders are tolerating the unthinkable. The organized crime is infiltrated in our communities, and our ordinary lives are in unbelievable, disguised, twisted manners. Mothers all over the planet are not giving birth and raising their beautiful children to be turned into robots, driven to drugs, alcohol, violence, etc. To be killed in a war games for some. Your Holiness, the time has come for many of us world citizens to stand up for Your Holiness in a global campaign to Your Holiness return to Tibet and the Potala Palace safely. Yes? Yes. Your Holiness, will you guide me and so many of us to make this campaign for your return to the Potala Palace a successful campaign before the end of this year? I hope that you will. Thank you, Your Holiness.
Thank you. Potala Palace, Potala Palace, look from outside, magnificent building. When we actually live there, no toilet. You have to walk long distance. So not comfortable. But the important is Tibetan culture. Tibetan culture. As I mentioned earlier, ancient time, I think among the Middle East sort of civilization, then India's civilization, the Chinese civilization, I think India's civilization, I think eventually produced most thinkers. Jainism, I think, very much strict non-violence. And then Buddhism. And before that, Sangha philosophy. Really great thinkers, great philosopher. I usually describe Buddha. One aspect of Buddha is, for Buddhist, the founder of Buddhism. But one aspect, that person is a great philosopher, great thinker. In his teaching, already sort of mentioned quantum physics. One Indian nuclear physicist, Rajaramana, late Rajaramana, once he told me, quantum physics in the West, new concept. But in this country, over 2,000 years, that concept already there. So Buddha, I consider great philosopher. Then he teaches us the altruism. And then one aspect of Buddha, one of his teaching, he mentioned, oh, my follower, monks, scholars, should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation and experiment. Oh, yes. Therefore, like Nagarjuna, and some great masters or logicians of Nalanda sort of institution, they rejected some of Buddha's own teaching. If you accept this Buddha's teaching, it goes against reason. Therefore, we should reject. So, judging from that aspect, I consider Buddha Shakyamuni was ancient Indian scientist. Emphasis on reason, experiment, not faith. Like that. So India, I think, really produce a lot of thinkers. So now, correct. So now, as I already mentioned, you see now Nalanda, you can see just ruined. Some pigeons there. No longer any sort of learning center. So all this knowledge, since 8th century, the Shanta Rakshita of Nalanda master at 8th century, he invited to Tibet by Tibetan emperor. Since then, he introduced Buddha Dharma, besides Vinaya practice, and philosophy, Madhyamika philosophy, and then logic, like Pramana, Vatika, Karika, and Kasa.
Brahmana Samuchaya. Brahmana Samuchaya.
Brahmana Samuchaya. You see, these textbook, translated into Tibetan. Now, actually, in Tibetan language, now translation from India, over 300 volumes. So the 1,000-year-old India's tradition, particularly the Buddhist tradition, I think kept only in Tibetan language. So therefore, the preservation of Tibetan knowledge about Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist logic, that I think not only interest for Tibetan people, but entire, Buddhist country, and then including China. Now today in China, nearly 400 million Buddhist population there. Many Chinese now Buddhists, now they very much appreciate our knowledge. So many of them follow Tibetan Buddhist tradition. So this politically also, you see, very helpful. Now many top scholars among the Chinese university, you see, now they realize, you see, Tibetan knowledge about Sanskrit tradition is something really authentic. Therefore, even some, you see, Chinese scholar, you see, trying to learn Tibetan. So it's a Tibetan, now these 300 volumes, now these, and Tibetan themselves, you see, commentary, I think at least 10,000 volumes, commentary wrote by Tibetan masters. So therefore, it is not serious, you see, not very serious, might just return. Yes, now because of my age, even go to Ladakh, too high, difficult. So now difficult, go to Potala. So I prefer remain here. Okay. And go to Tibet. Occasionally go to China and meet Chinese Buddhists, and go to Tibet a few days, say, I have to carry some portable
toilet.
Portable toilet. So a few days stay there and meet those Tibetan. I think they really 6 million Tibetan, very, very faithful, and the Tibetan spirit. You see, over 60 years, the Chinese hardliner, narrow-minded hardliner, you see, they utilize various methods: suppression, killing, torture, brainwash, and give some money, but completely fail. Change Tibetan mind, Tibetan spirit. Very strong. About a few years ago, I received one letter from Tibet. That person used to express, today, politically, China controls us. But future, with Buddha Dharma, we can control China. One Tibetan mentioned that. So after all, at the 7th century, from 7th century, you see, many centuries, we live side by side happily. So now, China, as you mentioned, most populated nation, historically Buddhist country. When we visit China, 1954, 55, I went to Peking. I think one of my secret is, you see, during that period, I learned many things from Chairman Mao Zedong himself, and also some other the party member. I very much attracted about Marxism. So at that time, I expressed I want to join Chinese Communist Party. So as far as socio-economic theory is concerned, I'm Marxist. But I totally against Leninism. Lenin, Bolshevik revolution leader, I think because of the circumstances, his way of thinking is very much, the wartime mentality. So I think the original pure Marxism, I think thinking, concern about right of working class people, and working class people should be ruler of the country, not kings or queens or religious leader. And then equal distribution. Wonderful, wonderful. But then the Lenin, wartime mentality, wartime suppression, tight control, secrecy, these are relevant, wartime. So Lenin, I think, spoiled original Marxism. So if China, now for example, and the Soviet Union and now China both, I think sincerely follow the original Marxism, then how can develop huge gap, rich to poor? Impossible. Like that. So therefore, while I was in Peking, my relation with Chairman Mao Zedong became very, very close. So he considered me as his son. I consider him as my father. Wonderful. One sort of want to say, the strangest feeling is at that time, say some big banquet like that, where Chairman Mao Zedong there, he always called me, sit beside him, and meal together. So, as Chinese tradition, through chopstick, so some food from his own plate and give me. So one way, so to say, great honor. One way, you see, he very coughing, always you see, smoke, and coughing. So I really sort of fright, he's some germs of coughing may enter my body. So in any way, you see, now China, today's China, compare 40 years ago, much changed. During Cultural Revolution and even before, immense destruction about religion, particularly Buddhism. As soon as Cultural Revolution ceased, revival of this 1,000-year-old tradition very rapidly revival. Now today, the number of Chinese Communist Party deep inside Buddhist. It is true. You see, any religion, you see, related with emotion, so through generations, you see that, that feeling cannot change by force. Isn't it? Like that. So therefore, I don't worry about China. I think now, as I mentioned earlier, you see, decade by decade, some change already now happening. So we'll see. I think in the next few years, I think some positive change may come. And then after all, we are not seeking independence. Since 1974, we decided not seeking independence, not seeking separation, but we committed fully, remain within the People's Republic of China, provided what Chinese constitution gives certain right for so-called those minority, and also the Chinese constitution recognize many places as a Tibetan area. So constitution arranged autonomous region of Tibet, autonomous district of Tibet, autonomous prefecture of Tibet, like that. So all these, the constitution recognized, so Tibetan area should have same right for preserve our own culture, including Buddhist knowledge and Tibetan language. Now Tibetan language, now I found best language to explain about the sophisticated ancient Indian knowledge about mind, or about sort of, the quantum physics. When I met some quantum physicists, then of course I respect them. I really wonderful. I really feel Kazoda, great way. No. Great thing. But in deeper my mind, oh, as far as quantum physics is concerned, I have better knowledge than modern quantum physicists. We study and also practice daily in order to tackle my emotion. As I mentioned earlier, the Raja Ramana, Maria Kasa, Aaron Beck, Tigilama Sawasan,
Aaron Beck, Sensumas,
Aaron Beck, you see, when a person develops anger, the object appears very negative, but 90% of that negativeness is mental projection. That's exactly, you see, Indian philosopher mentioned that. So their philosophy, nothing objectively exists. You see, that the direct sort of, how to say, counterforce to reduce exaggeration. Now, this respect, recently, some Chinese in mainland China, some quantum physicists, one article I heard, you see, mentioned quantum physicists who believed that, who convinced that, you see, less some kind of kasota.
Emotional reaction. Emotional reaction.
Too much emotion sort of reaction, less. So now that scientifically now proved. So I myself, you see, daily my practice, one as a Buddhist monk, as a student of Nalanda, one thinking about shunyata, emptiness, nothing independently exists. Everything mere designated thing. Then altruism. These two things, my daily main practice, is really immense help for my sort of peace of mind. And meantime, the thinking, and these not just a single-pointed meditation, but analytical meditation, that really immense help to sharpening my mind. So one joke, you see, recently I met one Indian leader. I think 4 or 5 days we together. So then we become close friend. And then one morning he asked me, how is your sort of kasa?
How did you sleep?
The rest, including sleep. Then I told him, I always 9 hours sleep, always. About 6:30, then next 3:30 wake up. Then at least 4 hours meditation, sharpening my mind, so that I can cheat other people more easily. Then he immediately responds, you see, he only 6 hours sleep, so he cannot cheat other people. It's nice, isn't it? Very nice. So like that, these practice, I really experienced immensely useful. You see, to reduce the self-centered attitude, and then a destructive emotion, these things. So therefore, not thinking just next life or some other sort of haven on these things, but day-to-day life, you see, through these practice really brings peaceful mind. Okay. So I feel it is very important to keep Tibetan sort of knowledge which come from India, and for that Tibetan language is the best language to explain these things precisely. Okay. Now, all these translated from Sanskrit. So now Sanskrit language is a dead language. Few scholars knows, otherwise they no longer sort of use Sanskrit. Then modern Hindi, no hope. Then English no hope. So only Tibetan language is the best language to explain these things. So preservation of Tibetan language inside Tibet is very essential. Now more and more Chinese, as I mentioned earlier, pay more attention. So I feel more positive. Yes?
Tashidele Galorin Boucher. Naming Lolayin, Ani Tanda Puki Changi.
Yes. Now question.
Ani Nipege Apomindo Sansan Injike.
Yes.
I was wondering, in sutras, there's lists of the different students of the Buddha who are there, and sometimes quite long lists of all the different members. And I was wondering, what is the purpose, or what is the use of having all the names cited one by one like this?
I think these just record at that time. So you see, place where Buddha taught, how many sort of monks there are, like that. That's just the record. What actually happened there. So these are not important. And even including Buddha's own sort of former life stories. Sometimes I'm a little bit skeptical whether true or not. The important is teaching. The teaching, like Buddha's, the certain sort of sutra, really wonderful. And then commentary wrote by Nalendra Master, like Nagarjuna, really wonderful. So we should emphasize, teaching is more important than the teacher.
So, according to the principle of reliance, there are 4 reliances, and one of them is not relying on the person but the teaching.
And teaching
and then within the teaching, do not rely on the words but the meaning. And with regard to the meaning, do not rely on the provisional meaning but the definitive ones. And so, with regard to this, relying on the definitive teachings, of course, there are teachings which, in which the Buddha talks about the conventionalities of things, what we see and hear and so forth. But those are not the teachings pertaining to those. What appears is not the definitive ones, but the definitive ones have to do with the developing one's own penetrative insight into the reality of things.
Obviously, now, many destructive emotion is very much grasping appearances. So the antidote of that, go deeper level, then like quantum physics, nothing exists objectively. Okay, thank you.
Just delay your holiness. My question is a slightly personal one. I'm writing a book at the moment called Knowledge of Origin, and I wondered if you have an opinion on, or if the Buddhist tradition has an opinion on why we have chakras and where spiritually that origin might be of chakras. The chakras.
That's a difficult job. I think Darwin theory, I think more reliable from, from small sort of insect, then gradually bigger fish, then gradually little sort of like frogs or like that. Then these looks like a monkey, and then through 1,000 years, gradually some change. I think due to climate, and then also use some Buddhist sort of what's the explanation. That's we call karma. The change of present due to previous lives, certain action. So as far as Sankhyaism, or one part of Sankhyaism, and then Jainism and Buddhism, life, no beginning. Self, no beginning. So no room of creator. So self-creation. So I think quite similar, the Darwin theory. I think some comparison. And then Abhidhamma Koshakarika said something about that now unscientific. For example, the world, the Abhidhamma Koshakarika mentioned world is flat, and in the center Mount Meru, and then sun and the moon, more or less same size, and go same level. So these are now, according to scientific sort of as a finding, these are, say, something like, I think, a mental exaggeration. Sometimes I jokingly telling, when Bosuband, great master of Nalanda, and the younger brother of Arya Asanga, so when Bosuband wrote the Abhidhamma Koshakarika, I also learned by heart that text. So when he wrote that book, his age naturally quite old, so his eyesight not very good. So one cloudy day, he tried to look size of sun. He found almost same size, moon and sun. So accordingly, he wrote that. Now scientific is finding, huge sort of differences. Sun is huge, because of distance, very far. So same, more or less, also the same size. And then Mount Meru not there. I publicly now mentioning, as the Buddha already permitted us, certain things which I think we can say unscientific, that we have liberty to reject, like that. Okay.